Hello and welcome to our weekly look ahead at the markets, and we've had quite a week. Over the last few days we've seen bond markets whipping around, stock markets whipping around. We had a lot from Jay Powell. He was testifying in Congress last week, ramped up some of that hawkish rhetoric, saying that the pace of hikes could increase, so we saw the bond market adjust to that one, although it has been starting to price in higher for longer. The question now will be whether the Fed is hiking too much as the economy starts to show just some wobbles here and there. But we'll get further updates on the US economy coming up this week. The story though last week, as I say, was Jay Powell, it was the bond market, and it was also the jobs report. So we saw lots of movement in across asset classes, all being hit by this macro environment, which is very powerful macro force behind the markets at the moment, and that's really what's driving things. So it's the inflation story, the US economy and the Fed that's really important, but also banking sector. It came under pressure last week after Silicon Valley Bank shares plunged as businesses started pulling deposits from the bank, and it was forced into a capital raise. A big markdown on some of its bond portfolio. Now, it doesn't look like this is the canary in the coal mine. It does look like SVB was particularly or acutely exposed to interest rate rises on both fronts. So it looks as though that it was a particular case. It was lending money to startups, tech and life sciences based startups in the US, and it was pooling in lots of deposits from them, and it wasn't really finding anywhere to lend to. So it was parking its money in long dated treasuries, mortgage-backed securities, and it had to take a big write down on those. And then Peter Thiel said that called for businesses to pull their money from the bank. So we have a very particular case, but it did have a big knock on the wider banking sector. So it is something to look out for, but I don't think that's any kind of layman's moment. So looking ahead to the week coming, we're looking for a bit more stability, but it's unlikely because we've got US inflation data. Now that it re-accelerated month on month last month. It was up to 0.5% from 0.1% in December. So looking to see what that sort of disinflation trend, if it's taking hold again, or whether or not we see further re-acceleration. The core CPI number holding at 5.6% and 0.4% month over month at the last reading. Remember, Jay Powell on February 1st said that there was some disinflation coming in. By the time of his testimony in Congress last week, he was very much walking back that remark and saying that disinflation is not happening. Apart from the US CPI numbers, we've got US PPI numbers, retail sales, University of Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations numbers. So lots to look out for from the US side of things. Also, the ECB is in action. It's expected to raise rates by 50 basis points, but there is a question mark over what's going to lie ahead, because there are new staff projections coming out. Those brilliant, amazing forecasts that the ECB publishes every few months, which never hit the mark. They're never right, but it's what the ECB uses to base its policy on, by and large. And we think that probably with the fall in energy prices that we've seen, and with wobbles in the economy, that the staff projection is going to show much lower inflation in 2024 and 25, and that might be the excuse that the ECB needs to slow the pace of rate hikes and maybe even pause by the summer. So watch out for potentially 50 basis points, but the ECB sounding maybe a bit too dovish. Meanwhile, it's the UK budget on Wednesday, so lots for the Chancellor to do. We don't think there's going to be any kind of implosion in the gilt market like there was last time with quasi-Kwarteng. We think that the fiscal responsibility is very much top of mind for Jeremy Hunt, and in fact it could be a bit of a boring affair, so we'll be turning his attention to the horses at Cheltenham. I'm sure there'll be lots to look out for there, and send me any tips if you've got them. Thanks very much for watching.